Welcome back. I'm going to do another of the two-part series. It's not a series, but the two parts of the top five things I wanted to know, top 5 things you're going to want to buy after you buy a mini lathe. So this is the second one. This is going to be top 5 things you're going to want to purchase or need to purchase after you buy a mini lathe or get into this hobby for the first time. So it's a Sunday, it's football day, it's winter, it's cold. I got the heater going. I've got a new TV mounted. I can see it. We got a really good setup to just play around in the garage, work on projects, and just have fun and talk to like-minded people like yourself. So I'm going to pour myself a beverage, and I'm going to enjoy this while we go through this particular video. So without further ado, we are working, and I've got notes again because I want to try to cover everything. This is the top 5 things that you're going to want to purchase after you buy a mini lathe that you may not have known about. This is from a perspective of someone who is new to the hobby, somebody who's never worked in a machine shop, doesn't really know the terminology, doesn't really know what to expect when they're getting into it. You know, experienced individuals are probably going to be like, well, duh, of course you needed that stuff. I didn't know that stuff. So hopefully this is fun to watch for those experienced individuals to maybe look back to when they started and they're like, yeah, I remember those days. Or if you're looking to get into purchasing one of these and you're really close to buying one, or you just bought one, these are the things that I found that I very quickly was going to need or buy and have already bought most of them. So without further ado, we're going to go 1 through 5, 1 being you know, the least important, and 5 maybe being the most important. But you know, all of these things I think are very important. So without further ado, number 1. General supplies. What does that mean? You're going to need lubricants. You're going to need oil. You're going to need cutting fluid. You're going to need grease to grease the gears. You're going to want to buy that stuff. I call that general supplies. You're going to need these things in order to maintain the machine, in order to grease and oil your ways. You want to keep the rust down. You want to be able to clean it. You might need you know, some of that to clean it. You're going to want to grease the gears. That's in the instruction manual. It's a very small instruction manual, but it is in there. So you're going to need lubricants. You know, this would be a good opportunity for those experienced folks watching. Put in the comment section what kind of lubricants people are going to need. For instance, I searched and I just wanted to find some general purpose oil that most people buy for using on the ways or as a cutting fluid or other things. And what I found was hydraulic fluid, ISO 68, was what a lot of people said, go ahead and buy that. So that's what I did just to get started. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but that's what I got. And then there's some ways to kind of make your own cutting fluid. There's a lot of videos and information on the internet for that. You know, there's a lot of tricks of the trade, but you're gonna need lubricants. Keep that in mind. General supplies, we're still on number 1. Cleaning supplies. You're gonna need towels. You're gonna need shop towels. You're gonna need solvents to degreasers. You're gonna want chip brushers. You're gonna need to brush your chips and stuff out of the way, and you don't wanna use your hand all the time. These things are sharp. Cleaning supplies. There's a lot of different stuff out there, but be prepared to buy that stuff if you don't have it. Abrasives. You're gonna want emery cloth in order to polish your material. I just bought a kind of a multi-pack. You can get this on Amazon or eBay or whatever. Just different grits. You're gonna need some abrasives. You're also gonna probably want, you don't need it, but you're probably gonna want it, emery cloth. This is Scotch-Brite, but they make like red, gray, green. All these are different grits, and they do a different, you know, kind of will give it a different polish. But you're gonna probably want that if you're making anything that you want to make look kind of nice. And finally, safety. In the safe general supplies, you're gonna want safety glasses, you're gonna want earplugs, you're gonna want perhaps some rubber gloves for when you're working with really heavy greased items, things like that. So be prepared to buy that stuff if you don't have it, because you're gonna need it. You're gonna want it, and then you're gonna need it, and then you're gonna buy it after you buy one of these things. Let's move on to number 2. Metrology. I think that's the proper term. I'm still learning, I'm still new to this, I'm 6 months into this. Metrology, you're gonna buy calipers. You're gonna need calipers. You're gonna wanna use calipers to measure your materials. Being new to the hobby, I just wanted to go easy to read. I went with digital calipers. You can use analog calipers. I think you get a little more kudos from me if you learn how to read the analog stuff, especially like micrometers. Do the research, try to learn how to read that. This is a hobby after all. Be open-minded to learning all that stuff. But you're gonna need calipers. I guarantee it, you're gonna buy calipers if you don't have them. That's number 2. Also with metrology, you're gonna need a machinist ruler. A 6-inch rule probably, maybe one with a hook on the end so that you can measure your product and your raw material more accurate. You're gonna want perhaps a machinist square, just a small machinist square. You can research that stuff on your own, but you're gonna want that stuff. You're gonna want a dial indicator. Now, what the dial indicator, if you don't have one, you're gonna have to buy it. These are things you're gonna buy after you purchase one of these. You're gonna wanna be able to measure your material and make sure it's turning true to the machine. So when you turn it down, you're making an accurate part. So dial indicator. You're gonna need a mag base or a base to mount that dial indicator, whether you're measuring your feed on your carriage in and out, or the run out on your material, or the run out on the lathe chuck, or the drill chuck, or whatever you're measuring. You're gonna need a way to mount that thing, and the most common way is a mag base of some sort. Also, something that I want to point out that I didn't know, that I kind of got bit by, when you start buying all this stuff, do yourself a favor and research tooling sizes and things like that. Like the dial indicator, we'll even bring out the digital, the micrometer, or the calipers. But the dial indicator, I got this is a Pittsburgh tape from Harbor Freight. This is called a stem, and this has a shank that's a size of, it's gonna be 3/8, I know, 360 thou, roughly 3/8 of an inch. When you buy a mag base to mount this onto your lathe, like this, you're gonna wanna mount this somehow to your lathe. There is a portion here that you mount your dial indicator to. I'll bring you up closer, make sure you can see. There we go. This is a stem. This is the mag base. This has to slide through here. See that? If you don't pay attention to this, if you buy a small mag base, this is gonna be perhaps 8mm. Some of these are 8mm. Pay attention to this stuff. You're gonna have to send something back, or you're gonna have to buy something else if you don't pay attention to that before you buy it. So don't just go on Amazon or eBay and start buying stuff. Do some more research and figure it out. Post some questions on my videos. There's a lot of cool guys out there that will answer your questions. Email me. I have an email on my YouTube page. Email me. I'll answer as best I can. I'm not an expert, but I will try to help as best I can. Figure it out before you just go spend the money. So pay attention to all that. But that's just one thing that I ran into. Your digital calipers. This one was 10 bucks, $9.98 on Amazon. I thought, okay, that'll work. It's plastic, but again, I'm getting started. I didn't care. I just thought this will be good enough. It measures okay, but it only is as good as tenths of an inch. It will not go to, it won't go all the way down to thousandths. It doesn't measure as accurate as you're going to need. So I can measure like 120 thou, but I can't measure 1 thou or 121 thou. If I'm measuring with this, it's going to be between, you know, like, let's say I have a piece of material that's 125 thou. This caliper is going to read either 120 or 130 thou. All I know is there's 10 thou perhaps between the reading difference with this particular caliper. So don't buy this, because you're going to quickly realize this isn't accurate enough. Spend 30 bucks. It's not that much more. Get yourself a better caliper. Now, the upgrade on this one, this is a Nyko brand. I don't care what brand you get. But this one, it's functionally, it looks the same, but this one's stainless steel. It's gonna probably remain true longer. You're gonna be able to kind of scribe and mark your material. It has a little more accurate wheel for if you're trying to fine tune. It has a lock. That one doesn't have a lock. But most importantly, it will read in the thousandths and even give you a half a tenth. It'll either give 5/10 or 0/10. So it'll even give you a little bit even further in there. So this one would measure 1 inch, 135 thou, and 5/10. So just spend a little more money and get something that's more substantial. That's my recommendation to you. You're gonna buy calipers, that's guaranteed. But I'm just saying, go and spend a little bit more and get good measurement metrology material. Finally, the mag base, I already covered that. You're gonna want to be able to mount. You're gonna wanna be able to mount your dial indicator to your lathe to be able to do whatever reading you're doing. You're gonna have to buy it if you don't own it. And gauge blocks, gauge pins, parallel set, 1, 2, 3 blocks. I did purchase some of those. I showed those in a previous video. If you don't know what they are, just kind of do some research. 1, 2, 3 blocks. You're going to want to purchase all that. All that falls under metrology. If you don't have any way to measure accurate material, you're going to need to buy that stuff. Number 3. Turning materials. Raw stock, round bar, whatever you want to call it. When I first bought this, I'm going through my scrap bin trying to find something to turn. I wanted to turn something that was round. Well, I was using some, you know, we got bolts. Everybody has nuts and bolts and things like that. You can chuck that stuff up and face it off and do something. But you're gonna find that you're gonna need material to work with. If you're learning, everybody's gonna suggest using 6061 aluminum. I agree with them. If you don't mind spending the money, aluminum is very fun to turn. It's easy to turn, it turns well. It's great to practice with and learn from. Turning materials, number 3. You're gonna need round stock. You're gonna need materials to turn on your lathe. You're gonna have to buy that stuff if you don't have anything. Once you uncrate this thing and you mount it up on your workbench, you get it plugged in, you get it cleaned up, the first thing you're gonna be very eager. I wanna turn material, I wanna turn something. Well, you're gonna be going through your scrap bin, through your nuts and bolts until you find a big enough bolt that you wanna mount in here and just start facing off. That's what I did. Just to say you did, right? So it won't take long that you will discover I really need to get some materials. If I'm gonna make any projects, I have to have material that is substantial enough, big enough, round enough for the project that I have at hand. There's different types of material. You can buy it online, of course, but it really will quickly add up. So if you're watching this before you've bought any of this, start scavenging and looking for that material now. But expect to buy raw materials, round bar, whether it's aluminum, brass, mild steel, stainless steel, whatever your project needs require, you're gonna have to buy it or obtain it somehow. Most likely, pay for it. So that's number 3 on my list of things that you're gonna find that you're gonna have to buy after you get one of these mini lathes. Types of turning materials: brass, that turns very well, leaves a really nice finish, polishes up nice. It's fun to work with. Aluminum, 60, 61, I think that's what it is. Anyway, it turns very easily, leaves a really nice finish. It's fun to work with. It's great to practice with. Mild steel, you're getting into tougher material, but that's going to be more, like this is probably mild steel up here. I'm not sure, it was hard recycled material, but that's what I made the sleeve to mount my quick change tool post out of. So it's recycled material, I didn't buy it. You're just gonna need that stuff. You can obtain some of this stuff at like your hardware store. I went to Lowe's and Menards, if you're familiar with those places. You can get, I found about the biggest material I could get was 1/2 inch, whether it's cold rolled steel or yeah, I'm not sure all the terms. I know there's cold rolled, there's mild steel and all that, but 1/2 inch is about all you can get. You can get rebar. But again, maybe check your scrapyard. If you're gonna make a production part that's supposed to be for a functional use for a customer, let's say, that's not what I'm doing, this is all hobby. You probably need to purchase something from a master car or an actual proper set of material that's new and fresh and doesn't have any stress behind it that could lead to a failure once you make your part. But if you're just learning and you just need material, I suggest that you check with your scrapyard, look around, do some scavenging, see what you can find and start gathering materials. But if you don't have any of that, you're gonna have to go online and you're probably gonna purchase that stuff. So that is number 3 on my list of top 5 things you're gonna wanna purchase after you buy one of these. Okay, number 4. Top 5 things you're gonna wanna purchase after you purchase a mini lathe. You're gonna wanna get lathe accessories. What do I mean by that? When you purchase one of these, depending on which one you get, some of them come with more accessories and some of them come with less. Some of them might come with a steady rest, for instance. I don't have one. You might wanna buy that if you don't have one and you need it. Other things that you are going to want to buy. You're gonna definitely wanna buy a drill chuck, a tailstock drill chuck. Pay attention to your tapers. Mine's a Morse taper 2, Morse taper 5 for the headstock. That would be for different chucks. You're gonna want a live center. If you're turning anything of length, you're gonna have to steady it with a live center or your steady rest, but live center. That's what the tailstock is for this kind of stuff. The lathe will likely come with a dead center, or if you get good, you can create your own Morse taper 2 and make your own dead center. But you're going to need to buy those things and you're gonna want to. So be prepared to pay for those things. Lathe chuck changes or upgrades. It comes with a 3-jaw. Most of them come with a 3-jaw. I suppose other brands might come with additional lathe chucks or maybe a 4-jaw, I don't know. Mine came with a 3-jaw. But if I wanted to turn anything that's a square stock, this is a bad representation, but let's say my 1, 2, 3 block. Let's say I wanted to turn this and face it off. Well, I can't mount this in a 3-jaw chuck. I'll bring it over there and show you. So here it is. This is just a 1, 2, 3 block. Let's say I wanted to mount this up and face it off. I can't do that. A 3-jaw chuck's only going to clamp on three spots, so it would never be concentric. So if I had a 4-jaw chuck, I can have 2 of the jaws. They're independent chucks. 2 of the jaws would clamp out here, and 2 would clamp over here, and then you could spin this and face this off. That's an example of why you would want a 4-jaw chuck. The other type of chuck that I really want to get, that will be my next chuck that I buy, will be a collet chuck. The collet chuck, I don't have one to show you, but you can search for it yourself. If you're going to want to get one, it's really a round chuck that you can mount, you know, threaded rod or something in, and it'll squeeze down on all sides of it, of the material, and not damage threads, for instance. If you mount up a threaded, like a bolt or something with the threads in this chuck, it'll destroy those threads. I had a project, previous video, where I did that, and it mars up the threads. It's really hard. So a collet chuck, eventually you're gonna wanna buy one. These small lathes, you're probably gonna work with threaded rod or material. So be prepared to buy that stuff. That covers number 4. That quickly brings us to number 5. The number 5 thing, and I think the most important and first thing that you're going to want to upgrade. Number 5. Upgraded tool post. It comes with a tool post that's not quick change, which means you need to have shims. You have to mount your cutting piece in the tool post. And if you want to cut something else, you got to take it out and mount another one. Well, along with that is you need to shim it up and down to make it centered, your cutting tip centered with your material. So it becomes cumbersome, especially for a newbie who's impatient, just wanting to try to get things going. You're going to want to upgrade that thing. Quick change, you can get tool holders, put new stuff in and out very quickly. Just makes sense. You're gonna buy one, you're gonna want to. What goes along with that? Additional tool holders. That's these things here, I showed them in another video. You're gonna want several of these. It'll come with a few when you buy one, but you're gonna want more so that you can mount your tooling and just have it ready to go. You're gonna wanna get additional tooling. It comes with brazed carbide tooling. They're blue, red, yellow, I don't know, but it's basically soft, mild steel with a piece of carbide brazed to the top of it. You'll have to sharpen those up, make sure those are ready to go, but this is what comes with it. You're gonna quickly realize, you know what? You're probably gonna look into carbide insert tools because it's quick and easy. It will cost, the cost will add up quickly, but that's another type of tooling you're gonna want. High-speed steel, that's this stuff here. It's hard material. You can grind it any shape you want. This is fun to work with. If you're getting into this for the hobby, buy some of this. It's more affordable, and you can grind this many, many times and get a lot more life out of this stuff. Plus, it's something fun to learn and work with. Like I said, carbide inserts. It's basically just I think I covered it in previous videos, but let me get one of these out of here. You can mount new tool tips to your inserts. I'll bring it up here so you can see. A little dark over here, but so you got 3 cutting tips. As one dulls, you take this out, you rotate it, and repeat. Eventually, this whole thing is dull. You take this off, you throw it away, you put a new one in, and there you go. So keep that in mind. It can add up, but it's very, very convenient. So I'm not against them. I think they have a place, but I think, you know, a mix and match of all kinds of tooling has a place in your workshop. The parting tools, You're going to want to be able to part your material off. So that's a type of tool you're going to buy. Again, it comes with something like that, but against these brazed carbide, you're probably going to want to buy other versions of parting tools. Thread cutting, you're going to need different tooling. It comes with one thread cutter, but if you break that thing, well, you're going to have to buy some more. Boring bars, center drill bits. If you want to use your tailstock to do any center drilling, you need some center drill bits. Deburring tool, you're going to want that so you can deburr rough edges on, you know, bores or different things like that. If you don't have this stuff, you're going to buy it. The chamfering bits, you're going to want to be able to chamfer off, you know, some of the holes that you're drilling. You don't ever want to leave sharp corners. You want to chamfer that stuff off. And the tool post, you're going to want to buy a tool post. Pay attention, there's different types. You have wedge type, there's piston type, these are quick change, but you know, there's aluminum. It's made, the material that it's made from could be aluminum, it could be steel. I like this one. This one's very substantial. It's made from steel. Wedge type, it's very solid, it bites in, it mounts very well. I recommend it, or a version of this. There are different sizes. Pay attention to the different sizes. You're gonna buy one, but do your research before you just buy one. Don't buy the cheapest one you find, the first one you find. If you saw some of my previous videos, you have a 0XA. That's a smaller size, about half the size of that one. That's an AXA. There's BXA, CXA. There's other styles of quick change tool posts that aren't wedge or piston. But again, they start getting big, and those are for large machines that are outside the hobby realm. You know, those guys aren't watching this video, and you know, it's not their concern. They know what they're doing. The sizes of your cutting tools, the shanks, I was showing you, like these are 3/8. They go down to quarter. They go up half, 3/4. I mean, you know, those are some pretty big cutting materials, but you got to pay attention to that if you're going to be buying any more tooling. I kind of stuck with 3/8 on mine, all of my stuff. I could put up to 1/2 inch cutting bars and things like that in my tool holders. I don't have anything that big yet, but you know, pay attention to that if you're buying this stuff. Otherwise, you may be sending it back. But you're going to want to buy it. You're going to need the tooling. One of the big benefits, though, I've said it before, but centering your tool. Why are you going to really want to buy that thing? It's for centering. You can easily use these threaded nuts and bolts and whatever, and you can center in your tool height very, very quickly. And then you lock it in place, and it's repeatable. Every time you put this in and out, it's repeatable. That's it. That covers the top 5 things that I know, that I experienced, that I bought right away when I purchased this mini lathe. And I would be shocked if these top 5 things, categories, don't also affect you when you buy one of these. I do have a bonus. Section for this video. Some other things that you're going to want to buy if you don't own it already. A lot of you will probably own a lot of this stuff. If you're getting into this kind of a hobby, you're probably more of a DIYer anyway. But I'll give you a list of things that I am pretty sure you're going to need at some point if you do get into this hobby and you do buy one of these things. I'll just run through the list, and that way we can close out this video. But I hope you find it useful. The bonus is additional tools that are not lathe related that you're probably going to need to have. You're going to want to pay attention. You're going to need both metric and SAE, Standard American. But let's just run through the list that I made, that I've found that I've needed throughout this hobby. Bench grinder, you're going to want to be able to sharpen your tooling that comes with this. If you don't have a bench grinder, You're gonna need one, get one. Drill press, you don't need one, but when you're working on material, if you can't get your tailstock centered, you're gonna maybe need that drill press in order to drill a hole or bore a hole to get started with. Vices, you're gonna need a bench vise at some point as you're working on different projects. Drill press vise, it's a low profile vise. You're probably gonna need something like that as well. I did, I found myself quickly needing something like that. Drills, hand drills, drill bits, machinist drill bits, drill press, like I said, wire wheel for cleaning rusty parts and material. All that stuff you're gonna find yourself needing. The drill bits are kind of critical. You're gonna need a variety of sizes, especially if you get into thread cutting, which leads me to tap and die set, because you have to figure out, that's a whole thing to learn on its own, but there's a max and a minimum, diameter that you need to have a proper drill bore if you're gonna tap a hole to start with. If it's too small, you're never gonna get that tap in there and properly drill this thing out or tap it out. Same with a die set. You need to start with the right diameter. So a proper set of drill bits is vital, I think. So if you don't have it, you're gonna buy it. Wrenches, adjustable wrenches, all this stuff, you need Allen wrenches. You're gonna need to be able to work on all this stuff. If you don't have that tooling, you're gonna go buy it. So hopefully you already have that stuff. Screwdriver, socket sets, hacksaw. Once you do obtain some of this round bar, some of this raw material, you're gonna need to cut it to length. You're gonna need a good hacksaw. Shop vac, chips get thrown everywhere. You need to clean it up. Get a good shop vac. Mine gets pretty oily and dirty, but it's old, I don't mind. But keep in mind, you're gonna need a good vacuum or system to clean up. Metal files, I've got some up there. You're gonna wanna be able to fine tune and use some hand files to polish off some materials. Maybe you're gonna use a file to chamfer something if you don't have a chamfer, if you can't get in at a weird angle with your tool cutter. Center punch, if you're gonna do drill a center hole, sometimes a center punch is the way to go. You punch the center and then you can drill your hole to bore it. A scribe, that comes in handy. Honing stones, you're gonna want some stones in order to sharpen your bits after you grind them on a bench grinder, because there'll be a burr. Charts, reference materials. There's a lot of books and things out there. Maybe this would be a good topic for those experienced out there. Post your best list or your favorite books for people starting out. People have mentioned to me there's a Zeus chart, there's the Machinery's Handbook, which is for advanced folks. You wouldn't need anything quite that substantial. There's been a few other comments on the other types of books and things out there. You're gonna need some reference material for sure. Especially when you get started out and you're working on things. You're gonna find you don't know how big this hole's supposed to be or that board's supposed to be. You need that reference material. So that's it. That brings me to the end of the top 5 things you're gonna wanna purchase or obtain after you buy one of these mini lathes. I'm gonna cut the video here. I hope you found this useful. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.